Imagine yourself standing on a vast, quiet shoreline at dusk. You look down at your hands and then you look out at the horizon. For 300,000 years, those hands have looked exactly the same. They've gripped stone axes, tilled the soil, and painted dreams on cave walls. We have spent millennia believing that we are the final draft of nature, the ultimate masterpiece at the end of a long, grueling evolutionary road. But there is a quiet, startling truth that most of us never consider. We are not the end of the story. We are a bridge. If you could travel back 50,000 years and pull a child from a Paleolithic campfire into the modern world, that child would grow up to be a doctor, a pilot, or a coder. Their brain, their bones, and their instincts are identical to yours. But if you were to travel 50,000 years into the future, you might find a creature so fundamentally different that it would view you the same way you view a chimpanzee, as a distant, primitive ancestor trapped in a fragile cage of carbon and bone. We used to think evolution was a slow, agonizing process that happened to us. It was a game of survival dictated by the whims of the environment. But for the first time in the history of life on Earth, the rules have changed. Evolution is no longer happening to us. We have reached out and grabbed the steering wheel. To understand where we are going, we first have to look at the evidence of where we are right now. Most people assume that human evolution stopped when we built cities and tamed the wilderness. We think that because we no longer have to outrun lions, our DNA has settled into a comfortable retirement. But the data tells a different story. In the last 10,000 years, humans have actually been evolving faster than at any other point in our history. Take, for example, the simple act of drinking a glass of milk. For most of our history, humans lost the ability to digest lactose after childhood. It was a biological switch that simply flipped off. But when we began domesticating cattle, a mutation appeared. Those who could digest milk had a massive survival advantage during winters and famines. Within a few thousand years, an evolutionary blink of an eye, that mutation swept through populations. We literally rewrote our digestive system to match our technology. We see it in the high-altitude regions of Tibet, where people have developed a gene that allows their blood to carry oxygen more efficiently than yours or mine. We see it in the bearhouse Sea Nomads of Southeast Asia, whose spleens have grown 50% larger, allowing them to stay underwater for extraordinary lengths of time. These aren't just quirks of nature. They are proof that our biological code is still fluid. It is still searching for a better version of itself. But natural selection is a blunt instrument. It requires millions of deaths over thousands of years to make a single meaningful change. We are about to replace that blunt instrument with a scalpel. We are entering the era of intention. For the first time, we aren't waiting for a random mutation to make us faster, smarter, or more resilient. We are learning to write the code ourselves. This is the scientific explanation for the Great Shift. It begins with a tool you've likely heard of, CRISPR. It's a molecular pair of scissors that allows us to find a specific piece of DNA and swap it out. At first, we will use it to fix what is broken. We will delete genetic diseases, erase the threat of Alzheimer's, and perhaps even silence the genes that allow cancer to take root. Everyone agrees this is a miracle. But once we've fixed the bugs in the human program, the temptation to upgrade will become irresistible. We will face a choice. Do we stay as we are? Or do we give our children better memories, stronger muscles, and longer lives? But the transformation of Homo sapiens won't just be biological. It will be a merger. We are already halfway there. You probably have a device within arm's reach right now that contains the sum of all human knowledge. You are already a cyborg. You just haven't integrated the hardware into your nervous system yet. There is a surprising discovery waiting for us at the intersection of neuroscience and silicon. We found that the brain is incredibly plastic. It doesn't care if an electrical signal comes from an eye or a camera, from a fingertip or a robotic sensor. If you plug it in, the brain will learn to see it. We are already seeing the first pioneers. People with neural implants that allow them to move prosthetic limbs with a thought or even type on a screen without moving a muscle. Imagine a future where the bandwidth of human communication is no longer limited by the speed of our vocal cords or the clumsiness of our thumbs. Imagine being able to share a memory, a feeling, or a complex idea directly from one mind to another. It would be the end of loneliness and perhaps the end of the individual as we know it. We would become a species that is perpetually connected, a collective intelligence that makes the internet look like a toy. This brings us to the bigger implication, the one that keeps philosophers and scientists awake at night. If we change our biology and we merge with our technology, what happens to the human in Homo sapiens? If we can live for 200 years, what happens to the concept of marriage or career or the way we value time? If we can edit our emotions, What happens to the struggle and the pain that have defined every great work of art and every triumph of the human spirit? We are standing on the edge of a canyon. On one side is our heritage, a species defined by its limitations. On the other side is our legacy, a species that has overcome them. The transition won't be easy. It will likely create the greatest divide in history, not between nations or religions, but between those who choose to remain natural and those who choose to ascend. We might see the birth of a new species entirely, a Homo Technologicus that can survive the vacuum of space, process data at the speed of light, and exist long after the sun has faded. Perhaps this was always the plan. Perhaps the naked ape was never meant to be the final version. Maybe our purpose was always to be the biological bootloader for something much greater. We are the only species that has ever dreamt of the stars, and we are realizing that our current bodies are simply not built for the journey. To reach the horizon, we have to become something else. So, look at your hands one more time. They are the same hands that discovered fire and built the pyramids. They are beautiful, they are fragile, and they are temporary. We are the generation that gets to decide what the next hand will look like. We are the architects of our own successors. The story of humanity is not a circle. It's an upward spiral. We are currently passing through the clouds, and for the first time, we can see the light of a new day breaking on a version of us we can barely imagine. Our journey as Homo sapiens is coming to an end, but our journey as something more is just beginning.